The Square Ball Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the show. It's brought to you in association with Levi Solicitors, who will do you a 10% discount on your legal fees at levisolicitors.co.uk/the Square Ball. Michael's here to say Will's Probate Conveyancing.
Yep, Will's Probate Conveyancing.
Thank you very much. What else do at Levi's do that's good? Perhaps sell some of the other services.
Licensing, legal costs services.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Commercial property disputes.
Do you think
Commercial dispute resolution.
Moscow's here as well? Do you think the spat between, I say spat, it could be entirely fabricated in Cellino's head, but on Thursday morning we learned that Cellino was saying bad things about Radz, about loans and things like that. Do you think maybe Levi's could intervene there and sort out if there is a commercial property dispute or some sort of loan dispute, maybe they could mediate?
He's got Johnny Coconuts, hasn't he, in his corner?
That's true.
Cellino, and he was always very successful in his legal cases at Leeds, wasn't he?
Yeah, it's funny. I asked Moscow, and you spoke.
I know Moscow doesn't like to talk about he doesn't like to muddy himself with commercial reads, does he? Whereas, come to me, a professional,
you will sell anything.
Exactly.
What do you think about Levi Solicitors?
They're great.
Yep. Why?
You see, it's not that easy, is it?
I think he chooses to not make it easy.
Should open the website. That's what I do. Have a little read.
10% discount on your legal fees. levisolicitors.co.uk/the Square Ball. 10% discount on your legal fees, to reiterate once again. And thanks to Levi's for their support and tolerance for Michael's abysmal reads and Moscow's refusal to bend to commercial demands. Staring at me. Right, fine, let's get into it then. Slightly abridged weekly show this week. Just catching up on the news. And the news is that two of our former owners are apparently engaged in some sort of dispute. Don't know what that's about. It all seems a bit silly, doesn't it? Sort it out, silly boys.
I actually didn't know about this until 2 minutes ago. So what has happened?
It came from the very reliable Sport Witness, where Cellino, I think, they're reporting it anyway. I don't know if he's been speaking to Gazzetta in Italy. So it's in Italian, so you might have to stick it through Google Translate. Long story short appears to be that he's suggesting Radz took a loan from him, Cellino, in order to buy Ellen Road back, way back when. There are scheduled loan payments due, and he has missed his annual payment as of the back end of August. So I think Cellino is claiming he might seize the shares of Sampdoria, given that he already owns Brescia, I believe. I don't know if that'll be allowed, but hopefully we can watch this unfold from a distance and not get embroiled in it, is what I'm saying.
I was going to say, really, if those two want to involve themselves in a lengthy and costly legal dispute with Leeds United playing no part in it, I'm kind of fine with that.
We are sort of involved in it because it kind of suggests that Radz has not fully paid back Cellino for Ellen Road.
But he sold it since then.
Yeah, so that's interesting.
Or has he? We don't know that he has, or has he just tried to secure a loan against it using it as collateral?
Well, yeah, I mean, Cellino seems to be under the impression that that's happened. I don't know if this is kind of, in Cellino's world, he's just woken up and seen the papers from May, and he's like, seeing what they're reporting, they say that he's going to he's about to buy Sampdoria using a loan raised on Ellen Road, and he just doesn't realise that 3 months have passed since that news report, and
just woken up and seen it.
It's quite possible he's woken up and still thinks he owns Leeds United.
Yeah,
depending on the length of night he's had.
But he does say that Radz has never been punctual with paying any of these instalments on the loan. So yeah, it does raise the question. It is always a bit who actually owns Ellen Road and why it needs to be kept in a separate holding company, which is kind of standard practice anyway. But why? Because Cellino could never afford to buy Ellen Road, but then he's had to loan the money to Radz so he could buy Ellen Road, and everyone's like, "Oh, Radz done what Cellino could never." And then it's funny that Cellino, I would have expected. I mean, if I was Massimo Cellino, maybe there was corporate agreements at the time keeping him quiet, but I would have made sure everybody knew that at least, because what did Ellen Road cost to buy back? Like 20-25 million? And
if about 20 million.
If 9 million of it was paid by Cellino, was given to Radz to buy it, it gets forgotten now with the sort of how Radz took over, but we were so close. If we'd got promoted under Gary Monk, they were going to carry on as 50-50 owners in the Premier League.
That could have been fun, couldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's alternate realities goal. That could have been absolutely cracking. And it's funny, it's kind of a shame that this has happened after Radz deleted his Twitter account in a tizzy, because he's now got plenty. I'm sure he would be burning to say, or probably not now because it's 11:30 in the morning, but if it gets to 11:30 at night, I'm sure he'd probably be thinking of loads. He'll be there in 12 hours to whoever is around and going, "Oh, can I just borrow your phone and go on Twitter?" Like, no. But I did notice yesterday that Gary Monk is still on Twitter. I'd thought about Gary Monk for a while, apart from what
he's blocked us.
Doing now.
We kept calling him a snake.
And he's just had his his most recent tweet, for some reason, X were like, "This is the most interesting tweet you should look at today." And it was him saying that his Instagram account had been deleted for no reason. So he'd started another one. And he seems to be doing some kind of training camp thing.
With the group?
Yeah, he's got a lot of...
Was there a group there? Did he refer to them as the group?
Not that I can remember seeing, but that's never far from his lips.
Hey, in other Italian news, Willy Nonto gone off the boil, hasn't he now? Seen that? Gazzetta reporting on that as well. He's not the same player as when summoned as a surprise by Mancini over a year ago. More timid, he forgoes incursion with dribbling, perhaps because he is not in great condition. Plus, a misjudged chance, fumbling before the shot. So he's over then.
Missed training for a bit, didn't he? That can't have helped.
No.
He was just, kicking a ball into an empty goal, wasn't it? At Thorpe Arch, doing some laps and stuff.
It was like that scene in The Simpsons where what's-his-face is chucking the frisbee to himself.
I don't know it.
Fine.
You kind of stopped taking people on when Gracia was here, didn't he? He ended up looking all disappointed at the bench whenever he had to pass. And I don't know if he's still got the hangover from having to change his style of play from those first few months when he was absolutely incredible. But yeah, let's hope we've not kept the wrong one, although Sinistera looked pretty rubbish for Colombia as well. So Bournemouth's problem.
Oh, yeah, he's had an absolute stinker of a time with Sinistera, hasn't he? That's a shame.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Still ours, technically, so we obviously want him to perform well. Yeah?
Yeah, he came on as a sub against... Were they playing against Chile? And it was 0-0, and they could have done with winning that. But he had a golden sort of 6-yard box chance where he could have just stroked across into the net. And instead, he kind of tripped over the ball and then did a big impression of like, "Oh, no, that's what I meant to do." And then...
Did his knee ligaments snap?
They didn't, but he was trying to recover the situation by styling it out and squaring it to somebody else. But his pass went about like 5 yards behind them, so that didn't work either. So he managed to mess it up twice in like 10 seconds.
Oh dear, that's a shame. Other South American news, see that Marcelo Bielsa's been found out already. The Bielsa burnout has started, unfortunately, for Uruguay. What a shame.
Burned out at altitude.
Yeah.
I suppose his style probably is not helped by playing at several thousand feet, is it? But
yeah.
He won his first game against Chile, although it was nothing to do with him, he said. But
he never does he?
But then, yeah, they did lose in Ecuador. But then South American qualifying's weird because Ecuador always do well at home because they play it in Quito, and likewise Bolivia, even though they're mainly terrible because they play at La Paz. When they have home games, they actually tend to do pretty well. So
should they be made to put a big tent over the stadium and change the air pressure?
I mean, there are other cities in Ecuador. Probably easier to play in one of them.
Yeah.
If you don't want to play it, there's coast and stuff. That's pretty close to sea level.
Yeah.
Generally speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Play at one of them.
They do. They sort of do put the coast. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where they keep it
near the seaside. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good idea that. Very good. So yeah.
Did you watch one of these games, Moscow? I must admit I did try to find a stream for the Ecuador game because it was at 10. I think the other game kicked up at midnight, and I thought, nah, not for me. But I couldn't get one that played for more than like 10 seconds at a time.
That past your bedtime.
It is really, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't find any. And there were streams out there, I think, for the Chile game, but yeah, I'd gone to sleep. So that's how committed I am to Marcelo Bielsa. But saw the highlight. There was a decent amount of highlights, and you just had to look at the goals and weep.
Yep. The cutbacks, things like that.
Yeah, and also just the way they looked like they were playing really good football, which I kind of miss. I miss really good football. Although we are getting back to signs of it this season. I think it's just particularly. It was all the moment for it, wasn't it? Because after we'd been hearing from your pal Angus about why Bielsa had gone and kind of revisiting that stuff. And then here he was.
He wanted £200 million players in every position, said Angus.
Yeah,
I think that's what he said.
He wanted them all in one transfer window as well, didn't he? So that's just what an unreasonable bastard Bielsa always was. Anyway, so yeah, that contrast was, and it's just funny as well that he managed to get Uruguay playing absolutely brilliantly immediately and then denied all of it. So, yeah, and even
very on brand. Very on
you've
brand.
got from the defeat to Ecuador, there was a last minute. There should have been a penalty in the last minute.
Did he remind us that the officials have a very difficult job to do?
Yeah, he basically said it wasn't definitive in the game and pointed out that Ecuador had already missed a penalty, so should have been 3-1 up. So Uruguay scoring a penalty right at the end of the game didn't matter. Well, it did matter because they missed the penalty and that would have made it 2-2 and that's a World Cup qualifying point. But we know what he's like about the referee. The colleagues, the referee, he changed his attitude. I always loved listening to him saying that stuff and then contrasting it with him constantly getting sent off for just screaming about referees' mothers to their faces when he was a younger manager.
Indeed.
I mean, the one that should have been a penalty, Luis Suarez was tweeting about it because incredible or something he tweeted with it.
What does that mean?
I can't remember. I don't speak Spanish.
Just a minute. Let me just open Google Translate.
But yeah, it was very similar to the one that happened to Rasmus Christensen at the start of last season, and happened with Scum recently, where a keeper just comes out and can do what he wants.
Yeah.
So you're like, I mean, it's probably looking at a prison sentence. If you were to do it, because he sort of,
if he did it in the street,
he kind of punches him in the face and then slams him into the ground by his head,
like you did that old granny.
It's quite vicious.
Yeah, we could have the VAR mic'd up from the Scum games. We don't give those.
Why not?
We don't give them for contact.
I mean,
Checking badge.
It's good we didn't do it to Eddie Howe. He'd have definitely been looking at time inside.
Yeah.
Suarez is funny. What I did watch with Bielsa was his pre-match press conference where he's basically yelling at everybody about why he's not speaking to Suarez and Cavani. And he's, if you do miss Bielsa, he is hilarious on this topic. He's been so stubborn for really probably no reason whatsoever. He said when he first took over Uruguay, everyone was like, "Are you going to talk to Suarez and Cavani? Are you going to talk to Suarez and Cavani?" He says, "Well, I will. I'm ready. I will listen to what they want to communicate to me about continuing the team." And then time comes around and they're both saying, "Well, we haven't spoken to him. He's not phoned us." And so the press conference, he's like, "I know the press, everybody is calling me a liar because I said I would phone up these players and I have not. And I never said I would phone them up. I said I would listen to what they had to say." And they both said in the press that they're available to play for Uruguay. So I don't need to bother them with a phone call because that's all I would have asked them.
Logically impossible to argue with.
Yeah.
That's the point.
And he's also saying that they talk a lot, and he's not really talking, he's not criticising the players for doing it, he's criticising the press for constantly publishing coverage of Suarez and Cavani. So he's like, the other thing I might ask them is what condition they're in, how fit they are. But you have quotes from them in the paper every single day talking about how their knees are and whether they can play so many times a week. So I don't need to bother them. And they will not want me to phone them up and ask them things that I already know the answers to. So out of respect for those two, because you've already told me what they have to say, I'm not phoning them. So you should not now be badgering me about phoning them.
I love how he transcends the way that the media operates and just points out the stupidity of it all. And you just go, yeah, it's impossible to argue with. You're absolutely spot on. Right, you mentioned Rasmus actually there. We'll come on to him in a moment or two after we've travelled a little bit further north on the American continent and marvelled at Brendan Aronson's free kick against Oman for the United States.
Which is what the keeper said as it went past him.
Oh, man. And that, what was it described as a stunner, the USMNT Twitter account?
They were joking, weren't they?
You'd hope so, wouldn't you?
I mean, the keeper could, if he'd stood still, he could have kicked this. He could have just kicked this clear.
Yeah.
Because he didn't have any pace on it and it was straight at him, but he somehow made it look massively complicated. It was fully Robka Wiedwalded in, wasn't it?
And to Brendan's credit, he did look slightly embarrassed by the fact that it had gone in.
He did. And there was a post-match interview with him as well where he was like, yeah, it was shit.
Straight through the wall, straight through the keeper.
Was more or less what he said. But I did feel a bit sorry for him in his interview. reminding me he's not such a bad lad, really.
He's absolutely fine.
I know he's absolutely fine.
He's fine as a footballer.
I just got sick of watching him play football last year, but
yeah. But then you could say the same for all of them, couldn't you?
Very true. I did feel less sympathetic towards Weston McKennie, who appeared behind him during the interview, and I just thought, oh, fuck off you.
Weston McKennie should, and in an alternative reality, would have been a Leeds United folk hero. You know that?
Potentially.
Yeah. Because he's a cheeky young scamp, isn't he? Playful. Like with shades of Mateus Click in terms of his doesn't take it all that seriously approach towards the sport. But unfortunately, that seems to spill over into his actual approach to the game on the field.
Into his diet and his effort.
Yeah, something like that. But we don't need to rake over those coals again, do we? Should we talk about Rasmus Christensen?
He's on his way back, isn't he? Was left out the Denmark squad. Back in. He's playing.
Did the coach have a road to Damascus moment and thought we've got to bring this guy back in so he can show us his skills?
I think some people got injured.
Right.
And he did show his skills, though.
He did.
We received a 1 out of 5 from tipsbladen.dk, which I believe is a Danish website.
I think it's Tipsbladet, it says here. Or is that just a typo by you?
Tipsbladet.
Yeah.
What did I say?
Bladen.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Full of wrong passes and bad decisions. And he got 2 out of 6 elsewhere, which was good.
Yeah.
Where?
Extra Bladet. I'll say that because Michael just commit another race hate crime against the Danish.
Sorry, Danish people.
Yeah, they give him.
You're fine people apart from the Schmeichel family.
So 1 out of 5 from Tips Bladet and Extras Bladet give him 2 out of 6. Right, well, fair enough.
Getting an early, stupid yellow card.
Who has a star system out of 6?
And generally struggling at both ends.
Who has a star system out of 6?
Extra Bladet.
I think, has Just Eat gone to 6 stars? I think it might have done.
It's like, the Burj Al Arab in Dubai. People are talking about the only 7-star hotel at the time. It's like, it's not a 7-star system. You don't just get to add stuff on, do you?
Can do there. Pushing boundaries, those guys.
Yeah, and it's like the rating system on Apple Podcasts. You give us 5 stars, don't you? You don't give us 6 or 7, although we're probably worth it.
Although I did notice because I get a weekly update from Chartable, which is they aggregate podcast reviews and stuff.
Owned by Spotify, that now, you know.
Oh, is it?
It is.
We'd got a 4-star review, which is generally very positive, but someone did say it's blighted by adverts for the US Immigration Service, who are a bunch of scumbags.
Right.
So sorry about that. Don't join them because it was like a recruitment thing to join that.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot we can do about that.
I'd just say don't.
That's just the ads being sold, isn't it? We don't know what they are. They just appear. And I certainly haven't dealt with Homeland Security in any way, shape or form for a number of years.
We are now never flying to America again.
That's it, yeah. Or doing a Ronaldo, as it's otherwise known. Moving on. Where else have we got? Should we talk about some of our shiny newer toys who've signed in this transfer window? Ethan Ampadu, for example. We like him, don't we? He's good.
Good for Wales too.
Mm-hmm.
It's his birthday today.
Is it?
Yeah.
What have you got him?
Nothing. They all had a nice time with South Korea, by the looks of it, because that was very friendly. Was the Latvia game a friendly as well, or is that qualification now? Anyway.
I suspect it was a qualifier, but I'll be honest, I didn't know who England were playing until the games came around.
And old Joe Rodden Joey Rodden, that would be his punk name, both seem to be having a nice time playing good games of football in professional manners.
Good. Yeah, that's all we ask from them, isn't it, really? Under the terms of their contract. And Ilya Gruev played in a 2-1 defeat in Montenegro. Glenn Kamara, 23-minute sub-appearance in a win versus Kazakhstan. And we got in a defeat against Denmark. What did he get, Danes? 3 stars out of 8?
We got a little hint from Gruev that was quite interesting because he mentioned that he was happy to be playing in midfield against Montenegro because he's sick of playing in central defence. I don't know, that suddenly had me... I'd not realised that he could do that. It suddenly had me going you could play central defence? You any good at left back?
Is he tall enough?
To be honest,
I don't know if I'm casting him in my mind in the same image as Stephen McPhail, who was always quite small and left foot one day, which is possibly what's happening here.
I'm struggling a little bit with Ilya Gruev because his purchase was immediately overshadowed by Glenn Kamara come in, Jadon Anthony come in, Luis Sinisterra going. He was the quiet one, and so I feel like I don't know anything about him. And I had it as well. I know it takes a while to get used to players. I was looking at some photos of Leeds players to put one on the blog, and there was a player warming up against, who did we play at home? You see, I can't remember who we've played football matches against. Who did we play at home? Sheffield Wednesday. I was looking at this guy going, I don't know who this is. Joe Rodon, that was. And I feel like I know something about how Joe Rodon plays, and I can pick him out on the match. I think his tattoos weren't visible, so that didn't help. But yeah, I was looking at him, and it just, none of it kind of was clicking with my mental image of Joe Rodon, so I was struggling. But then, yeah, Gruev is like, who is?
He's 6'1", by the way.
Right, so he can play. He's tall enough. Yeah. See, I wouldn't have known. I'd, in my mind, assumed probably like a McPhail-ish kind of player, like that, 5'7". I can sort of mentally picture him on the ball, on the turn. Doing
and the same as doing a Mark Rocker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But beyond that, just I've yet to... It'll click once if he starts playing some games. Because that's the other thing that I was thinking about him. I don't know why. I was just mulling him over and thinking about how little I knew about him. And rather than doing anything about that, I just kind of wallowed in the thought. But about... I know Martin Heaton ended up playing quite a few games. And this is going back a long time. But you do get those players sometimes who just don't really do anything. Because we've signed, obviously, the front, the midfield now is Ampadu, Kamara.
Are you writing Grove off already?
Groove. No, not writing him off at all. But if Ampadu and Kamara both have the season that they should have, and if Gray is the Ballon d'Or winner that he's going to be, he is definitely backup. But every signing now, and it can be a double-edged sword, and it often happens with some of the signings over the years, especially when it's not like an under-21 signing or something. Bit of a fanfare, like, right, can't wait to see him going. What if we don't actually see him? If he's like
if he never plays?
He might play, but just a sub here and there, and
I think he's going to play some games.
I think he will, but I was just pondering.
On loan to Cultural Lyonnaise by January. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so
he'll play.
He's a funny one. Werder, I didn't realise Werder Bremen had such a nice green and green version of that Denmark Aston Villa kit.
Talking of centre-backs, by the way.
Stayed and worn that. It's beautiful.
Talking of centre-backs, I can't let it pass. Do you follow Pascal Strauch on Instagram?
Yeah, but I don't look at it very often.
Did you see how handsome he looked on that picture?
Oh, I did see that.
Let's have a look.
Just to add to that picture.
Look at him, the suave bastard.
That's in Paris, that is.
Is it?
Imagine being in Paris with that.
That's basically...
Bloody hell.
I'm basically... I'm pregnant.
What a life.
I did see that collection of photographs, and it is it's his trip to Paris made to look as if, I now want to go on holiday to Paris with Pascal Strauch.
Like, what would you talk about?
Mayonnaise.
That's Belgian, isn't it?
Yeah, so's he.
Fine.
Can't argue with that.
No, you can't. Hey, the kids will be excited. The FIFA / rebranded to EAFC 24 ratings are out for Leeds United. Some players have been given some numbers. Kids live and die by this stuff. It's very important.
Ian Pervada does.
As the owner of a 12-year-old boy, he just numbers everything.
Pervada has gone up. I remember the video of him being really disappointed with his own rating, going around the training ground going, 62, man. I can't believe it. And Barry Douglas going, you'll get above 70 one day.
How many points are on his licence?
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah. Just keep going. But he's up to 68 now. And according to this, Pat Bamford, Dan James, and Meslier are our best 3 players.
Gold they are, like Spandau Ballet.
Why does Kiko Casilla have a rating?
No, that was just from the video. I went and watched
Right, okay.
Sorry, they're from going back to watch the video. That was just for comparison purposes to see where they've gone. So Bamford's actually gone up since young Ian was going around the training ground.
Yeah.
But
why?
I mean, that's a question. He's got an England cap now, hasn't he? I think that was before the first Premier League season.
Oh, right. Yeah, so he scored 15 goals in the Premier League and got an England cap since then.
This seems to me, my observation on this is that the people who make FIFA / EA 24, when they don't really know what to do, they just give everybody a 73 or a 74.
Yeah, we're all about 70, aren't we?
Yeah, like we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players on 74. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on 73. It's like, we'll make him
And
about
then
that.
at 64, Archie Gray, probably the best player in the world.
But he's going to have high. I mean, this works on like potential as well.
But
So
he's already better than that.
Yeah, he is. You're right. But the game analysts won't know enough about him yet, will they?
But they want to get to know.
Well, they will do this season. But I bet he's got a very high potential.
Poor old Darko JB, bottom of the lot with 62. Matteo Joseph 63.
Is this gonna cause waves in your house then?
No.
Does he not play as Leeds because they're all
No,
rubbish
he
players?
does, but obviously you go and sign Haaland, don't you? Give Leeds £1 billion, sign Haaland.
That's the way to do it.
It helps to understand Groove has 71.
Yep.
So he's gradually building up the picture in my mind.
Well, the guy who'll never play.
He might. Well, no, he probably will. I was just pondering, I was thinking back to that. I was comparing it to kind of Martin Heeden, who just turned up, £1 million, was always a backup, played quite a few games
It's
for the
quite
first
good
team.
though.
Yeah, exactly. But he wasn't signed as like a big headline grabber. He was always kind of signed, we've got a really useful backup from Austria. So instead of a load of players who just got our backs up from Austria, eh?
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That's good.
Yeah, it's very good. Have you seen that we're in Europe? We've qualified for Europe despite being in the Champo.
I did get briefly excited about this, thinking, maybe we could go to an away game in Europe, but to watch under-21s.
Right.
All the games are played in England.
Oh. Why would you do that?
Don't know. Seems unfair, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's the Premier League International Cup.
Right.
That'll be why, because Premier League have organised it. It's not UEFA.
Has anybody told them that we're not in the Premier League
Invitation.
anymore?
We're in PL2. Come on, stop splitting hairs.
It's a 26-team division. If the Premier League one was 26 teams, we'd still be in it.
That's a good point.
So make it bigger.
Yeah.
Make it however big it needs to be to encompass 15th in the Championship.
I mean, there is an argument. Like they're looking at the Champions League now and they're saying, right, we're going to give like historic points. Basically a chance to give, like, if AC Milan don't qualify one year, we'll put them in because we like them and they've got money or whatever. I think while that's corrupt and wrong, if the Premier League do want to do that and start giving out sort of historical places, like we were the champions of the division at the launch of the Premier League. We were founder members of the Premier League. Surely, if anyone's getting a free pass in there, a guaranteed place, it should be us.
And Oldham.
Yeah.
To be a step up from. I think they probably get annihilated for the first season.
Yeah.
But then the Premier League money comes. All right, put it to them.
Should we give that a go?
Or do you go right back to the first ever Football League? Because we've just pulled that table up. Accrington in there.
Like teams like Wanderers and Royal this and Royal that.
We're not in the first ever Football League, actually. They're all quite normal looking teams. They used to win the FA Cup, didn't they? Because I think did the FA Cup predate that? You know this stuff, Moscow.
You were there then, weren't you?
You remember it.
It's quite a nice tournament, this Premier League International Cup.
Why is he not indulging us?
Because you're right, it's got some appeal. It doesn't need the away trips, really, because we play Nice and we play Hertha Berlin.
That wasn't very French.
And we play Sparta Prague and we play PSV Eindhoven. Those are four pretty solid, kind of tempting European fixtures.
It does hark back to our own little European adventures, doesn't it, with PSV and Sparta?
I think that's why I saw it and I was like, I could go to Prague and to watch Leeds. That'd be fun.
You formulate, let me guess, you formulated a 3 or 4 day away trip without your family, with us.
Yes. Around watching, probably not even Matteo Joseph.
And you'll do extensive research trying to find out where Stara Pramen is cheapest because you're going away from the tourist haunts and you want to pay cheap prices for your pints. And you get leathered for 3 days and then come back to your family who you resent.
You've seen right through me.
So that's that, isn't it then? That's the week in Leeds United news. We're going to preview the upcoming Millwall game in the show with Phil, which will be on Friday. He's got that on her now. Apparently he reckons to know stuff about football, so we talked to Phil about that.
It's Millwall, isn't it? We know what's going to happen.
Nah, not this time.
Probably lose. They'll do some Turkey stuff. It's going to be tedious.
You think so? I think we go there and we win.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know if we're wearing white or we're going to be in the pink and yellow affair.
I think that would annoy Millwall more with that third kit.
Have you seen Chelsea's away kit?
The blue one, you mean? Yeah, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Have you seen that? Chelsea, who play at home in blue, have got an away kit that is blue.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Wimbledon did it the other year, didn't they? They had 2 blue kits, like a blue one and then a darker blue one.
Oh, wow, I see it. Yeah, that could pass as a home kit.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah, and they've got a third kit that's, I think it's kind of mint.
Blue.
Yeah, it's not far from. It's not far from blue. It's a sort of light green. Yeah, so I don't know what they're playing at. Still not sponsored though, losers.
They seem like a well-run club,
Everybody
though.
hates them.
You have to say. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, very in control, aren't they? Yeah. The Man United away kit as well. Have you seen that thing? The green number, which is a contrast to somebody who's playing in red, is not easiest. It's not the easiest for somebody who's colourblind, who's red-green colourblind, to pick them apart. Although the stripes, not a handsome thing.
No, that Chelsea kit's horrible. I'm just looking at it. And our kit's nice.
Yes. And Yellow Admiral shirts are still available from squareball.net.
Also nice.
Yeah,
Even nicer.
Even nicer. Yeah,
That's what I meant.
yeah, and cheaper.
They are cheaper.
Yeah, not because they're any worse.
No, because we're responsible.
We don't mark up the price hideously. That's why. Because we're good peoples. What are you snorting at, Normanton? Good. Well, are you looking forward to the action resuming again this weekend? I enjoyed having a week off, but I am ready for it to come back now. I feel like I want to see the start of the Farke era kick in properly at the weekend.
Do you think this is it? He's had them all on the training ground? Apart from Pascal, who's been in Paris.
And all the ones we've been talking about who've been away on international
Apart
duty.
from them. It's
those.
really going to have clicked with Joffrey in this past week.
But I'm excited. I'm excited for the weekend. But we'll cover all that off with Phil on Friday. And thank you for joining us on this one. Hope it's been suitably entertaining for you. If not, we'll try again next week. We'll see you soon.
The Square Ball Podcast.